Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, welcome to Leisure Gaming. I am Leisure. In today's deck profile, we're looking to do something that most players don't like to hear, and that is to play a deck for fun. Yes, fun and Yu-Gi-Oh in the same sentence, and that deck is Trickstar Burn. To start off the deck profile, we have one Trickstar Nightshade. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for the link summon of a Trickstar monster, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Next are two Maxis to get the extra draw power when your opponent starts to special summon. Next are two Trickstar Lilybell. If this card is added to your hand except by drawing it, you can special summon it. This card can attack directly. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one Trickstar monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Next are three Trickstar Lycoris. You can reveal this card in your hand, then target one Trickstar monster you control except Trickstar Lycoris, special summon this card, and if you do, return that monster to the hand. Each time a card or cards is added to your opponent's hand, inflict 200 damage to them for each. Next are three Trickstar Candina. When this card is normal summon, you can add one Trickstar card from your deck to your hand, and that is spell, monster, or trap. Each time your opponent activates a spell or trap, inflict 200 damage to them immediately after the effect resolves. Next are three Trickstar Narcissus. If your opponent takes effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect in their hand or graveyard, inflict 200 damage to them immediately after it resolves. Next are three Trickstar Korobane, and you can put this at either 1 or 2. If you control no monsters or all monsters you control are Trickstar monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. During the damage step, when your Trickstar monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and that monster gains attack equal to its original attack until the end of its turn, essentially doubling the attack of that monster. Going into the spells, we have one card destruction. Both players will discard as many cards as possible from their hand, and then each player is going to draw the same number of cards that they discarded. One terraforming, so we can add one field spell from the deck to the hand. One Pot of Avarice, so you can target 5 monsters in your graveyard and shuffle all 5 into the deck, and then draw 2. You can actually drop this for a different pot if you prefer. We have two Cup of Ace, and you can actually run this at 3 as well, where you can toss a coin, heads, you draw 2. If it's tails, your opponent draws 2. We have 3 Trickstar Festival, where you can special summon 2 Trickstar tokens. If a Trickstar monster you control that was special summoned from the extra deck will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard. You cannot normal or special summon monsters the turn you activate this card except Trickstar monsters. Next are 2 Trickstar Light Stage. When this card is activated, you can add one Trickstar monster from your deck to your hand, and there's 2 Trickstars that you're going to be searching for that, either the Trickstar Candina or the Trickstar Lycoris. You can target one set card in your opponent's spell and trap zone while this card is on the field. That set card cannot be activated until the end phase, and your opponent must activate it during the end phase or else it is sent to the graveyard. So this is a great way to clear out some of your opponent's backfield. Each time a Trickstar monster you control inflicts damage or effect damage to your opponent, inflict 200 damage to them. Next are 3 Dark Room of Nightmare. Each time your opponent takes damage from a card effect, except Dark Room of Nightmare, inflict 300 damage to your opponent. This is definitely a mandatory 3, because you want to try and get multiple copies on the field as quickly as possible. Of course, we have the 2 Called by the Grave, just so we can stop things like Ash and Maxi. 1 Magic Cylinder, and this can be swapped for a Ring of Destruction if you would prefer. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, negate the attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. Next are 3 Disturbance Strategy. Your opponent shuffles their entire hand into the deck, then draw the same number of cards. Next are 2 Secret Barrel, and you can definitely put this at 3. Inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card in their hand, and for each card they control. Next is 1 Present Card, and you can definitely run multiples of these if you'd like. Your opponent discards their entire hand, then draw 5. And 1 Trickstar Reincarnation. Banish your opponent's entire hand, and if you do, they draw the same number of cards. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Trickstar monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Going into the extra deck, we have 2 Trickstar Blooms. If this card is link summoned, you can make your opponent draw 1 card. If a face-up Trickstar monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card in their hand. 2 Trickstar Holly Angel. Each time a Trickstar monster is normal or special summoned to a zone this card points to, inflict 200 damage to your opponent. Trickstar monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If your opponent takes damage by a Trickstar monster's effect, this card gains attack equal to the damage they took until the end of this turn. Next is 1 Trickstar Black Catbat. Each time a monster or monsters this card points to is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, inflict 200 damage to your opponent. Each time your opponent takes damage by a Trickstar monster's effect, face-up monsters they control lose 200 attack for each monster this card points to until the end of this turn. Next is 1 Trickstar Crimson Heart. Each time a Trickstar monster or monsters is normal or special summoned to a zone this card points to, gain 200 life points. You can discard one Trickstar card, both players draw one card, but if your life points were at least 2,000 higher than your opponent, you get to draw 2 instead. Next are 2 Trickstar Diveritas. You can only control 1 Diveritas. If this card is special summoned, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent. If your opponent normal or special summons a monster, inflict 200 damage to your opponent. 2 Trickstar Foxglove Witch. If this card is special summoned, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card they control. If this link summon card is destroyed by battle or effect, you can special summon one link 2 or lower Trickstar monster from your extra deck, then inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card they control. 1 Trickstar Delphindium. When this card declares an attack while pointing to a Trickstar monster, you can target your banished Trickstar cards up to the number of link monsters your opponent controls, add them to your hand, and if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack for each card added until the end of this turn. 1 Trickstar Bella Madonna. While this link summon card points to no monsters, it is unaffected by other cards' activated effects. If this card points to no monsters, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each Trickstar monster in your graveyard with a different name. And to round up the rest of the extra deck, we have 1 Appaloosa, 1 Axis Code Talker, and 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So that's it for the deck profile for Trickstar Burn. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead, leave a like and subscribe. In the comments below, let me know what your favorite burn deck is. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Later.